All right. Got cut off in the last one with Screencast-O-Matic. I'm only allowing 15 minutes, so picking up where I left off, we'll finish really quickly here. As I mentioned, there's possible legal issues with dropping charges on David. It sounds like are moving forward with him having that weapon on school grounds. So whether that's the assistant principal's decision to make or not, having the school board and the principal and even the superintendent on board with what's going on, I think would be important. As you look at choosing the best option, I think there's some things you got to look at. As I mentioned, utilitarian mindset of what's beneficial to most and detrimental to the least. Um, I think that's an easy answer on this with the information that we've been given. Um, And I think it's important that we're teaching consequences, but not necessarily punishing victims if that's the case, even though they may have done something or been in a bad situation. If it's out of their control, I think that's when you need to start looking at what you're doing and if the policies are aligned the way they need to, and look at making sure your standards and your ethics are um, aligned with what your policies are promoting. So for me, I would go with option four. To me, this allows transparency, discussing it with your superiors, making sure that you're not the top dog where you're just trying to make it a power trip and make it your decision, and allowing yourself to converse with other people that are also in positions of power and could be um, the authority figure on this situation. So I think the biggest thing is it pushes the board to reevaluate a potentially flawed policy to make their disciplinary system more effective. I already said what I would choose. I would look at going to the head principal and then moving up to superintendent and even board of education in hopes to revamp the policy. If you go that route, it could potentially avoid keeping black marks off of your record. For Richard in that case, that's not the main focus for me. However, if you go about it in the right way and communicate what your stance is, worst case scenario is mainly for David is he ends up in a spot that he probably shouldn't be in. Um, and worst case for you is you end up with some black marks on your file. So, but if it doesn't end in termination, you can still work your way back from that and push for change. So that's also under the category what may happen. Who needs to know already included some of the decision makers on it. I think at the end of that, and even during, is keeping parents notified of what's going on, where you're at in the decision making, what that process looks like. Can it be dealt with alone? I wouldn't want to, especially with it being a legal issue, possible felony charges. I don't know that an assistant principal is going to be able to make that decision. Um, and then warn, don't threaten. Like I said before, make clear that there's a possible issue to the school policies, and to look to address those for the students' benefit. Make sure that you share your heart with them and they can see where you're coming from and that you're trying to look out for the students, not going on a power trip. For me, plan B, once you start going to your superiors and if they decide to overrule you, if it doesn't go the way you hope it does, it can very quickly turn into do my ethics and does my moral compass align with what my employer's is? If they say no, this is the policy, this is what we're doing, and they don't look at what's actually best for both kids in that situation, I think that's a flawed system. And I think at some point, I don't know that this would be it necessarily, but at some point, if it continues, I would look at different alternatives to my employment because I want my employer to align closely with what my standards are ethically. So, reflection on the class, I'll let you read through that. I thought it was a beneficial case study. I thought the entire class, really briefly on this, was it helped me grow in the sense that a lot of the things that we discussed and read about were things that I kind of knew already, but it hadn't really dug deep enough into it to really understand what was going into some of the decisions and some of the processes. So I think that's my big takeaway on the class. A couple references for photographs that I put into the PowerPoint, and that's it. Thank you.